What's up, YouTube? Young Mustard is back with another video, and I'm here to discuss the 5 biggest winners of the NBA 2017 offseason. Now, I know the offseason isn't completely finished or whatever, you know, Carmelo rumors, Kyrie Irving trade, all this and that, but I'm going to discuss my winners, and tomorrow I will be posting my losers. So without further ado, let's get on with this video. Like if you like it, comment down below your opinion, subscribe if you're new, and hit the bell next to my name. So let's get on with winner number 5. Now, the Thunder simply get the number 5 spot because they won the sweepstakes of getting Paul George, and having a combination of Russell Westbrook and Paul George should be very interesting going into next season. Russell Westbrook will be on his last year of his contract, assuming that he doesn't opt in. Obviously, I'm assuming that he will opt out to get the most money that he possibly can get, or to go to a different team depending on his situation. And getting Paul George, who's also on a 1-year deal left in his contract, is actually really good, because when Russell Westbrook decides to leave, then you know sadly you'll have to let him walk in free agency, and then Paul George, you'll have to let him walk in free agency. But the reason I think that that's good is because maybe you can do something in this 1 year, convince Westbrook to stay, and then say, hey, we're going to try to build around you. We've shown you that, hey, we can pull someone like a Paul George out of the blue, even though that was kind of just due to the Pacers not waiting it out and being a little bit patient, or, you know, they're waiting too long and not trying to pull the trigger earlier on trading Paul George. But nonetheless, they got Paul George. Maybe we can convince you, or if Russell Westbrook were to leave in free agency, maybe they can just tank a season, get some draft picks, all this and that, so you guys get the picture. And also, this is going to be a very important season for Russell Westbrook and Paul George. I think that they will play at their best. I think, or at least I'm praying for Russell Westbrook to pull through. People think I hate Westbrook. I don't hate Russell Westbrook. Obviously, him losing Kevin Durant, or should I say the Thunder losing Kevin Durant, was a big blow. And to be honest, I think this year should be Russell Westbrook's best year, because it's really important that he balls out and that he, you know, at least makes it out the first round, because I think the first round series is winnable. Now, depending on how he plays, if he plays good and, you know, the other teammates play poorly, or, you know, if he plays good and it's just not enough to beat the team that they have to play, that's a different situation. But it's going to be very important because he's had Kevin Durant, and they kind of underachieved in the sense that they never got a championship. So getting Paul George, who isn't Kevin Durant, we know, but he's a better defender, and offensively he's not, you know, close to KD, but, you know, he's a really solid offensive player. He can give you 20 to 25 points every single night. So getting Paul George should help Russell Westbrook, especially defensively, because now they got Roberson and Paul George, who plays very excellent to elite defense, and also plays really good on the offensive side of the ball. So that should help that team. And also the addition of Patrick Patterson should be really good for them, as he can stretch the floor as well. And his defense, it's a little whatever. But offensively, they do need that kind of spacing with Andre Roberson at the shooting guard position. So having a forward who can stretch the floor offensively should help them. I'm predicting that they should at least be a 4th or 5th seed at best. 3rd. I doubt that's going to happen, but that's at best. And also, I like Victor Oladipo, but I do think he was a bit overpaid. So getting rid of that contract should have helped the Oklahoma City Thunder, because Paul George, you know, a smaller contract, and if he were to walk, more cap room, because they desperately need that. So I mean, that's another big thing for the Thunder, that they got that cap space cleared up, because Paul George has been getting paid less than $20 million a year. That's really good for someone of his talent. So that's another thumbs up for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, we all know why they are on this list. They got the number 1 pick in the draft, and they look like they may even be a playoff team in their first year playing together. Yeah, they got Embiid, they got Dario, they got Simmons, and they got Markelle. The feds are coming. Fultz, Embiid, Dario, and Simmons. They got them all. And I also know that they got Okafor, but who cares? The guy's way past the time period that his game is in. So we all know this is a really solid team. And then moving up from the 3rd pick to the 1st pick and giving up the Lakers pick was actually really good, because we don't really know how much value that pick even holds. And next year's draft, I doubt it will be as stacked as this year's draft. I mean, so that's a really good plus for the Sixers. I mean, for them to go into their first year together with Simmons, Dario, Embiid, Fultz, and they look like they may already be a playoff team, that's really, really good. And also, them signing JJ Redick was a good plus for them. Not only do they sign him to just a one-year deal, but it's something that's really going to help them in terms of their spacing, because having Ben Simmons facilitate and have a lot of shooters around him such as JJ Redick, Markelle Fultz can make threes. You also have Covington. You also have Joel Embiid in the paint who can extend his game to the three-point line. So having shooters around Ben Simmons will be very key to his success. Someone who can facilitate and literally just toss it out to someone on the perimeter such as a Markelle or a Redick or a Covington, or someone like an Embiid who can take his game to the three-point line. That is really, really good for Ben Simmons. So that's a plus for the Sixers. Expect them to be in the playoffs. If they don't make the playoffs, it kind of will be underachieving a little bit by the standards of the Eastern Conference being hella weak, but I expect them to be really, really solid. Expect them to make a lot of noise. They are definitely winners of the 2017 NBA offseason. Now, to be honest, the Kings, they could be number one simply due to the fact that they have failed and failed and failed in numerous off-seasons. And to be honest, they catch a dub here, finally. Finally, they didn't mess up in the draft and select some bust, or at least at this point, we don't think these players are going to be bust. Now, obviously, Harry Giles is a different situation, but we'll get to that in a minute. So first, they took De'Aaron Fox with the 5th overall pick. And that was a really good bonus. De'Aaron Fox, a really good player, has John Wall potential, but on the downside, he does have Alfred Payton potential. But having someone like a Buddy Hield in the backcourt with him to, hide some of those flaws in his shooting game should help him a bit. But defensively, he's really, really good, very energetic, high motor. I expect him to be a really, really good defensive player despite his offensive flaws. And then when it comes to the 10th pick that they had, they actually did something really, really smart that I actually encourage a lot of teams to do, which is they traded down. They traded down with the Portland Trail Blazers. The Blazers took 10th pick, and they took the Blazers 15th and 20th pick. So they ended up getting 3 top 20 picks, which is really, really good for the Kings because they need multiple things. They don't only just need 1 or 2 things. They need a lot of things. So with the 5th pick, like I said, they took De'Aaron Fox. With the 15th pick, they took Justin Jackson, another player that people were kind of a little iffy on because of his physical attributes, but I think he can be really, really good. He's a good shooter. Also was on that championship team with the Tar Heels last year, so I think he can be really, really solid. But the thing about him is his physical attributes. Obviously, that could hurt him defensively, sometimes even offensively, but I still think he's a really, really good pick. He was probably the best available player at that point in time, if we're being honest. Now, I don't really know all the other players, but I do know another player that was drafted later on, and that was another person that the Kings got with the 20th pick in Harry Giles. Now, Harry Giles was projected to be a top 10 pick in this year's draft had it not been for his injury history. So obviously, and we all know the Kings love to take big men, Thomas Robinson, also Willie Cauley-Stein. They love to get big men, so they had to get another big man, and they got Harry Giles, who is kind of a hit or miss, but it's the 20th pick, so it didn't really affect them too bad in the long run. It's not really going to hurt them, but I think Harry Giles can be good if all things go right. He can be a really, really solid player. And also later on in the draft, they took Frank Mason III, who was the College Player of the Year at Kansas. So that's also another really, really solid pick for them. I know he's another point guard, but I mean, he can run the backup point or at least be the 3rd string point, because in the offseason, they signed George Hill. George Hill, I don't really know if he's going to be starting in the beginning of the year. I assume he should be. I mean, you don't sign someone like that and then have him play backup. I don't think he wants to be a second fiddle to De'Aaron Fox, but I believe he'll be starting for a while, and then De'Aaron Fox will eventually take the reins. But he's a really, really good defensive point guard, can score when he needs to or when it's required of him. And also another guy that they got, another veteran, is Zach Randolph. Now, put away the marijuana shit that just happened recently with him. I know he just got arrested. I don't know what the Kings are going to do about that, but we all know what Zach Randolph is. A really solid passing big man. Also someone who plays really, really good defense. He is declining, obviously, but he's a vet. I mean, getting that veteran leadership in the locker room doesn't look like great leadership now with the weed thing, but we all know he's a really, really solid player. And also they got Vince Carter as well, who can give valuable minutes off the bench. We all know how this guy is, kept his body in shape for so long, longevity. We all know Vince Carter is a really solid old player. So they had a really good offseason. I think that the Kings, to be honest, they could be number one had it not been for these next two teams coming up. Now, to be honest, we all know why the Warriors should be on this list. I mean, this team has been balling this offseason. And we're not even going to address their Paul George rumors, because if they did that, Jesus Christ, the world would explode. But the Warriors have to be on this list. They have to be either number one or number two. I put them at number two because we all know who should be number one. But the Golden State Warriors this offseason, they managed to keep all of their core pieces together, and they brought in more. There were rumors that Iguodala could leave and go join the Spurs or the Rockets or some other teams, but they ended up re-signing him. Kevin Durant opted out of his contract and re-signed for less money. He took a pay cut, so that's a plus for them. Steph Curry was able to sign his contract that he deserved, well deserved to him, because he was underpaid for far too long due to those ankle injuries. Klay Thompson is still there, Draymond's still there, McGee is still there. Also, they got Zaza still there. Okay. And also, they added more pieces to their team. They got Nick Young, who fits well with them, helped their bench, because a lot of people were saying their bench was weak, even though I didn't really see what they were really talking about. But they also got Omri Caspi, and do I have to remind you guys of the duo that him and Steph had? So they got to be winners in this scenario, because not only are they the best team in basketball, but they got even better as everybody else got better, and they kept their core pieces. No one really of value left, or of huge supreme value left. So shout out to the Warriors, shout out to the fact that their GM is so competent, or should I say they have a good market and they have good players, but that all still falls down on the management, because they did draft a lot of these players. So shout out to the Golden State Warriors. They have been balling. Shout out to all of them in that front office, because I know all of them are really competent. For them to have all these players, and it all started with them drafting Steph, drafting Klay, drafting Draymond. They deserve to be right where they are on this list. They are definite winners of this offseason. Now, this shouldn't come to a shocker to anybody. I was really debating on who should be number one, the Timberwolves or the Warriors, but I mean, I came to the obvious conclusion that it had to be the Minnesota Timberwolves. Let's just start from the beginning. On draft night, they hoodwinked my team, the Chicago Bulls. They stole Jimmy Butler. A theft was committed when they stole him from the Chicago Bulls for pretty much boxes of cookies and a Fanta drink. That's it. They took Jimmy Butler from us for Chris Dunn, who had a very disappointing rookie year, Zach LaVine, who's coming off of a torn ACL and may not even play next season, and the 8th pick. And we also gave up the 16th pick, which is just mind-blowing that we actually gave up a pick in the process of trying to rebuild. And with the 8th pick of the draft, instead of taking someone like a Dennis Smith Jr. or a Malik Monk, or hell, even Zach Collins or Justin Jackson, we took Lauri Markkanen. Yes, Lauri Markkanen. I mean, Jesus Christ of Nazareth, please save us in Chicago. But besides that, the Timberwolves, they get it up because they got Jimmy Butler, who's a really solid player, who is one of Tom Thibodeau's favorite players that he's ever coached in Chicago. They also got Justice Patton, who's another pick. I don't really know how he's going to turn out, but whatever. And also, they got even more in the offseason as they signed one of the best bench players in NBA history in Jamal Crawford, and they got Jeff Teague. So they got a point guard who can shoot way better than Ricky Rubio. They improved their bench depth with one of the greatest 6 men in NBA history, and they got a two-way player in Jimmy Butler, which they have desperately needed. Cat is a mediocre defender, Wiggins was a mediocre defender, LaVine was a horrible defender, Rubio could only do so much for that team, and honestly the only thing that they really need to fix is Dieng's contract. I mean, if they can get rid of that or trade that for something, then they'll be fine. I think that they'll be really good moving forward. This team can beat the Warriors, especially with the Kyrie Irving rumors. That's a video for another day. I will do a Kyrie Irving video, the 4 destinations for Kyrie Irving, so watch out for that video. But shout out to the Timberwolves, because they have to be, and I mean they have to be, the biggest winners of this offseason. It's not what they're going to do next year, but it's what they're going to do moving forward, because they have a lot of really good young players. Jimmy Butler is a really good player. In my opinion, I think he may be a top 10 player in the NBA. They got Karl Anthony Towns, who is probably, in my opinion at least, the best center in the league. They also got Andrew Wiggins, who looks like he's really promised on the offensive end. Defensively, we all know what that is. Jeff Teague, who's a really solid point guard, a top 15 point guard in the NBA. Some could argue top 10. I would say around the 10 to 15 mark, that's where he is. So shout out to the T-Wolves, because moving forward, they are really good. They are really set, and having Tom Thibodeau as that coach defensively is going to really help them, because we all know Wiggins and Cat are pretty much mediocre defenders, if we're being honest, and that should really rub off on them to make them at least, and I mean at least, average defenders at best. I mean, Cat's got the physical attributes, Wiggins got the physical attributes. They should be good defenders, but I mean, we're just talking worst case scenario. They should be at least average defenders. And also, this should end their over a decade playoff drought. So shout out to the T-Wolves, because they got to be the biggest winners of the NBA offseason. Alright, so if you like this video, hit that thumbs up. Also, comment down below your opinions. Comment what you think about this video. Do you agree or disagree with me? Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram and add me on Snapchat. The link will be down below. So also, you guys, I would like to say thank you all. We have passed 2,600 subscribers, and hey, it would not be possible without you guys. So hey, drop some comments, drop some suggestions. I would suggest that you do it on Twitter and, you know, follow me, but, you know, drop some ideas and suggestions down below. So this is your boy Young Mustard signing out. We out of here. Peace.
2014, the year I died. Now I'm resurrected like Jesus Christ. I mean, y'all can't tell by the shit I drive when the doors go like frequent flights. I mean, look inside my crib, look inside my whip. Big old body, man, and I can't drive for shit. If I fall home, it's a spaceship, nigga. And my budget was a motherfucking facelift, nigga. Whoa. Anyway, fuck what you heard and shit. I'm from 7 Mile, I make urban shit.